Welcome everyone to Gold Silver Bitcoin News. This is not the Gold Silver Bitcoin show. This is Gold Silver Bitcoin News. It's a little quicker. We're going to try to do 10 minutes right now and just talk about with RL Bryer, the markets for the remainder of Q4 and also Q1. So I think RL Bryer, you're underrated on Twitter. You can check RL out there. What's your handle? rbryer23 at
Yeah,
rbryer23.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for the plug on Twitter, and thanks for having me on. This is the first time on the news show, so I'll speak rather quickly.
Q4.
Q4, I think that we're sitting here. I actually thought that the worst case scenario after the top was in at 69,044 on Bitcoin. We're just going to talk about Bitcoin mostly here because we don't have a lot of time. I thought I thought the bottom, there was a good chance 20K would hold. If it didn't hold, it'd be 17K. And like the doomsday scenario for me was like $14,000 Bitcoin. I still don't think we're going to break 10K and go back below the 10K level. That would like be shocking to me. But with the recent, what's transpired with FTX and 3AC and Luna and Celsius over this year, maybe we wick down below 10K and we see 8,000, 7,500, something like that. But I don't know if that's going to happen yet. I'm still like super bullish on the market turning around next year. I did a little bit of quick math the other day, not too hard. I looked at the estimated time for the next halving, and then I looked at where we're going to be in Q4 or Q1 of next year, and it'll be like right around a year out or something like that from the less than right around a year or less from to the halving. I can't remember the exact number of days, 300 something days. So we're not really like, if history lines up and repeats the way it has, over and over again in this with Bitcoin being programmatic, it's been very predictable for me and other people. And I think this is you can kind of gauge the market in these cycles through just the halving and history to some degree. You might not get it perfect, but you can get pretty close. I would assume that next year will start to be a turnaround at the end of Q1, and we'll bottom by then in Q1 of 2023, and we'll probably start seeing some of the altcoins do 100x and stuff like that again, and there'll be the next DeFi hot summer or whatever you want to call it, and we'll see whatever it is, whatever that next thing will be. It was NFTs, it was DeFi. The exchanges going crazy and yield farming and stuff like that during the last cycle, dating back to like 2020, right after the March COVID crash, when it bottomed out at 3,100. So I still think unless Bitcoin goes below 10K, we'll probably I still think we'll probably see our first 100,000 plus Bitcoin next cycle, but we're still a long ways away from even getting back to the all-time high right now. And it's kind of hard to make any sort of prediction on where we can go until we see the floor. Like, it's just not very, I wouldn't say it's a very good way to make any sort of like real prophecy or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think that well, but I think the pain is we're about 4 months from the end, probably seeing the pain subside.
What about the wider economic context with calls for recession, really signs of recession already having set in the West? Obviously, we've had a tumultuous 2022 geopolitically and in the markets. Russia sanctions come to mind. The Russia conflict, the Ukraine-Russia war come to mind. What do you see about the wider economic context as we head into the new year?
Yeah, I like that question because what we're dealing with right now in the crypto and Bitcoin space, it's like very interesting to like think about that question. It almost is to me, and we can separate Bitcoin and crypto. We talked about that a little bit on your show earlier, or on my show earlier today. But it's very interesting that we have like this world that's been being developed where everything is transparent and everything is like black and white, and you can see what people are, the good actor. You should be able to see the good actors, but there's still like this old world vibe, like even in crypto, where there's been these like bad actors that have been able to infiltrate and not use these transparent means of like smart contracts and stuff and like proof of reserves to prove that they're good, they're on the up and up. So what, we're I feel like we're at like this turning point in history, honestly, where like the old system is basically like blowing up, like the legacy world, and then inside of crypto we still have like a leakage of like this sort of corrupt legacy world that is like leaked into our industry, and we need to like eradicate it now, or else it could definitely we've seen the damage that Sam Bankman-Fried did, and as he's pushing forward, trying to push through regulations to limit decentralized finance, DeFi, and we need to like figure out who the good people in this industry are in this sector. And I believe, like I've always believed, that Bitcoin and the crypto industry as a whole have this opportunity to like sort of like eradicate the legacy world, like this corrupt world, or at least like make the world a better place. So that's my hope and my aim. It's always been my hope and aim, is like do the best I can for myself in this space, and then like as a result be like a good person who can like just, and this isn't like just me, I'm just thinking like we need to find the people that are in, believe in freedom and are in this space for like the right reasons and not just making a quick buck, because it's obvious that like there are certain people in this space, and you calling for regulations, and just saying things that are like absolutely ridiculous. I've actually been calling people out on Twitter more recently. Like, I'm not going to name any names. You can just go to my Twitter account. You already said it. You can look at my tweets. I'm like personally, letting people know, I'm calling them out on their bullshit now, because I'm just like, it just has to be done at this point. We can't go down the same road and like let these people just like destroy the Bitcoin crypto ecosystem.
You know, a topic we weren't going to talk about. So FTX and a lot of the fallout from there. There's been a lot of people who are getting a lot of grief for having supported FTX, if only even as having them on as an advertiser. And these people are defending themselves, saying, I mean, how was I supposed to know after all of these big billionaire investors and all of these politicians were also saying that this was good? And it's like, when on the topic of calling people out, it's like maybe that's a reason to have been suspicious.
Good point. Well, here's how I'm looking at it personally. I was a big advocate for, like, I still am, for middleware and oracles and stuff, and I was like, Chainlink is going to be that project, and I still think that it will probably have like a large, it's already captured the market share, the majority of the market share of that industry so far. But I've distanced myself from it just recently, and I got a lot of backlash on it on Twitter. People were like up in arms about it, but I'm not going down that road with these people. They're like in bed with the World Economic Forum. It's like too many things have come to light, and I'm just using this as like another example. They're tweeting out like FDR quotes. Yesterday they tweeted out a what's his name, Galbraith, the economist, and then who else? He was a post Keynesian economist, who was a post Keynesian economist, a government guy, another government guy, and then he was a government official for years, and then also they part of the team was tweeting out about Keynes himself. So these Keynes, it was John Maynard Keynes quote, I think. So it's like, how can I trust these people who are apparently like completely on the other side of the spectrum of where I stand on like this freedom, line, you know what I mean? It just seems like and then it's like funny to me, because for a while I'm like, well, could Sergey actually be Satoshi Nakamoto? And now we're like getting really far off topic here, but there's just, for me, there's like no way that like Satoshi Nakamoto is tweeting about like John Maynard Keynes or Roosevelt or anything. It's like, it's just kind of fun. It's just humorous but at the same time, it's very scary, because I feel like we have like it's just like another example of like these just bad actors that are infiltrating our space. Like obviously they're in some sort of like they're buddied up with the WEF, so it's like I can't trust them anymore.
So Galbraith, he has a quote where he says that he asserts that classical economic theory, which might be kind of Austrian free market libertarian type today, was true for the eras before the present, which
Right.
were times of quote poverty. Now,
Pre-central banks, or basically is what he's saying, right?
now, however, we have moved from an age of poverty to an age of affluence, and for such an age, a completely new economic theory is needed. So he lived. It,
He
I'm,
died in what, the 70s or 80s?
I guess he was born in 1908, so he lived in the 20th century. So I think there's
What's his full name?
his name is John Kenneth Galbraith.
Yeah, John Kenneth Galbraith. Yeah, I just know I actually think I've heard Rothbard even have some rebukes on him personally in speeches. I just know that I just knew as soon as I saw that title, I'm like, and then I looked it up. I actually I read a lot yesterday, and I was like, isn't that guy a communist? I mean, that's communism to me. I mean, I don't care what anybody's. You can wrap up Keynesianism any way you want, but it's redistribution and it's communism. I mean, it's really what it is. Like democratic communism, I mean, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think, and it's a really a dominant economic philosophy today, and that's why looking at the Bitcoin industry and the financial space today, and I think promoting these ideas is important and virtuous, actually. Now, last questions.
Mhm.
What do you see for Bitcoin in Q1 of 2023? And what do you see for the wider economic context? Elon Musk has said that we'll see a recession by 2024, spring 2024. I think he said he might have said spring of this year. But what I do know is that the Bloomberg Recession Index is like at 100% for 2024. 100% chance of recession by 2024.
I mean, aren't we statistically already in a recession? Like, I think we are. I don't really know why everyone keeps saying we're gonna be in a recession. We've been in a recession for almost a year, probably at least. So I think that's pretty humorous, personally. I mean,
Hey,
by
let's
all scales.
back up here. A
Yeah.
recession for a year. So then, like, we've pretty much been in a recession since they locked down the economy. But we can't talk about that here.
Right, right. We'll save that for another episode. But yeah, the larger picture and then Bitcoin. The larger picture, I do think that we're in a recession. So I don't stock market probably won't bounce back as fast as crypto. Like I said, I think by the end of Q1, I think we'll start seeing crypto turn the corner unless
Okay,
the whole
so I
thing.
guess recession. I'm looking for a massive event that just like is just a shock.
I feel like we've had our fair share already. I think FTX is a good one.
Does FTX bring anything bigger under? Okay, how do we have GameStop or whatever it was bankrupting VC hedge funds? All right, so like who, like is I guess the question is in the context of recession, because I do agree with you. We're basically statistically there. This place has been falling apart for like since 08, 09. We've
okay.
had there's no production. There's no
I mean,
production.
if you want to go back that far, didn't that guy just get a Peace Prize or the Nobel Peace Prize? The guy that started the whole like really, I mean, Bernanke, did he just get not a Peace Prize, but yeah, what was it? The Nobel Prize for Economics,
Yeah, I
not a
think you're
Peace.
right.
Yeah, so it's just kind of humorous that we're seeing this entire thing blow up in front of our eyes that he started, and then they're giving him a Nobel Prize in economics or whatever it was for for while the whole thing's like basically collapsing. Like he was our savior somehow as we're seeing record near. Did we hit record inflation? It was right around it. So I think.
Do we see like another big event? Does FTX like set off like $100 billion bomb somewhere?
Man, it's hard to say because what was it today? There was another, I just read about another company that was, yeah, there's probably a major, there's probably still some major events coming down. I don't know if anything will be like as big as FTX. I really hope not for the sake of like crypto in particular, but, nothing, I'll tell you right now, nothing would surprise me anymore. This has been the craziest year ever. It's like, don't ever become the main character of crypto ever. Because if you do, like, look at everybody who has Do Kwon and Luna done. Celsius was a big one. they got too big. They were doing shady shit. It sounds like I can't be sure, but we'll find all of that out here soon. Yeah, I think they had a court hearing today. 3AC, they were also like huge. They were like one of the biggest funds out there. Blew it up. And now we see FTX main character, Mr. Fortune himself. He's all over the news, all over the New York Times. Blew it up. So it's like don't ever be too big. You don't ever want to be that main character.
All right. This has been GSB News with RL Bryer. I hope we can do this a lot. We'll try to keep them down to like 10 minutes and maybe even less. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks to RL Bryer. Follow him at Twitter, rbryer23. Thank you.
Appreciate you having me on, sir.